Okay, there we go. Ta-da. All right. Sorry, I'm late. Apparently, Google decided it wanted to verify and then not send me the code. But then all of a sudden, I got like 20 of them at the same time. So now I have all of them. Hopefully you guys can hear me. It doesn't actually give me audio updates. Oh, hello, Brody. Okay, cool, perfect. Brody is here. However, he may have to go away at some point because he won't stop moving. And it's very distracting. But it's all right. Okay. What? Hello, guys. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna open. I did not actually. He is a puppy. He is indeed a puppy. He is 4 months old as of. Oh my god, my camera focus. Uh, 4 months old as of 2 days ago. Hi, Brian. Brody goes, I go. That's fair. I mean, Brody is probably the star of the show today. He's already so big. Like, he's like double the size than when I brought him home. Come here. Come here. Yeah. I didn't actually prep anything for this because I just figured if people wanted to come and ask questions, they totally can. So this is basically a live session to talk about anything and everything MotoAmerica. There might be some political things I might censor, just because, depending on what questions get asked. Um, yeah, for anybody, I think Tyson shared this in the Desmo group. So if there's anybody from Ducati here, or from the Desmo Northwest group, welcome. Um, Anybody who doesn't know me, I'm assuming everybody does. We successfully completed the full season of uh, Super Sport and Super Hooligans at 2023 Moto America. So, I mean, successfully, right? It's all relative. We did it. We went to all the rounds. We made it. We were there at every race round. So most of the goals were met for me this season. It was pretty low on the goals, but you're riding CVMA tomorrow. Also, you're running Super Hooligans again. Am I running CVMA? No, I'm currently at home in Washington. I'm taking a break. Um, I really, as much as I want to be at the first race round, it's hard because I just don't have the money and I'm a little burnt out. So all of my stuff is there at Chuckwalla right now for Super Sport, but I am not there. And Super Hooligans for next year is still undetermined. We are still putting together the program for next year. It's obviously lots of discussion things, and it's kind of just like the season just ended, and it's like I want to get started on planning everything, but at the same time, kind of taking a little bit of break. So I'm headed to Cancun next week for the weekend with my family. So I'll be gone for a couple of days. I'm going to do that, and when I get back from that, I'm going to hit the ground running and start doing a little bit more planning for next year. What's up, Brody? Missing double points. I know. I'm aware. But this is going to make it so I'm not as inclined to go to all the race rounds because then I automatically won't be any championship contention. So I think it's good because last year I said I wasn't going to do all the rounds. And then I started out the season with 2 wins in Super Sport middleweight on double points rounds. And I was like, well, now I have to go because I want to try to get this championship. And yeah, um, so yeah, and then that didn't work out very well at the end of the season. So anyway, I'll be at Chuckwalla for a couple rounds. Ow, it's my hand. But probably not the full season. What was your favorite track this year? Probably Pittsburgh, which is a bummer because it's not on the schedule next year. But Pittsburgh was very challenging, but also like really fun. So I don't know. I think it was a really enjoyable track for sure to like ride. Maybe I would love to do like a track day there or some other events so I don't feel so pressured to like uh like be just like trying to go ow as fast as possible. So yeah. No, someone will listen later. Want to know if you have plans for 2024 yet. Trying to get my program together. Looking forward to hopefully rubbing elbows next year in Super Hooligan. Sup, Jordan? Yeah, I am in the planning phases of next year, but uh, I have nothing concrete yet. You know, obviously, just the season just ended, and it's kind of like time to just chill for a second, and then hopefully get some stuff put together. But so far, nothing set in stone. I don't know if I want to do 2 race classes again next year. It was a lot, um, especially for my first season. Um, Tim Femwala, maybe. Uh, I always say I'm gonna go, and then I never get down there because it's just like so much time and money and effort for me to get down there for a track day, you know? So look at that. Do you see that? Get down there for the track. It's hard. So maybe I'll try to plan it, but we'll see. All right, Brian. First question. I expect you to have prepped multiple questions, so I'm ready. I'm prepped. Did you think looking back that qualifying for MA would be harder, or did you find it easier? Ooh, good question. Uh, I would say that hmm, I don't know. It was about as I expected. I thought for sure though that I wasn't going to qualify at a couple race rounds, and so I guess it was easier. But we barely made it by each round. Like it wasn't like we were just like astronomically like in the window and like doing really well, you know. So I mean, it was about as I expected it. Like I knew I was going to be like barely squeaking by each race round and like barely making it in. So yeah, it was. I mean, it was every bit as hard as I imagined, for sure. Pit race is cool. Track is as a fan, yeah. I didn't really. The bored part is I don't get to like I don't get to like watch a lot of stuff, like being like racing and whatnot. So it's hard to like. I don't get to see it from the outside. I watch all the races on MotoAmerica just like I did before I raced. Uh, hey John, thank you. I really appreciate that. It was a lot, and I'm processing it all. I'm happy, but also frustrated. So, you know how that goes. It's racing. Skip a race around and do Femwalla and the track day. Okay. Well, maybe I'll plan to do that, and then we'll see. I don't know. I might be down at Chuckwalla more this winter. I'm not really sure. My life is kind of, eh. I don't know. We'll see. Uh, Arsenio, you have a day job and you ran 2 series. What is your fitness routine? Uh, Ethan Chaplick with Southern Pride Performance runs my fitness coaching stuff. He plans workouts and things that are like within like I don't know 30 minutes to 45 minutes of like super low intensity um like workouts. Hey, would you stop? Um, but like so hopefully they're like quick, but we try to do it like after work or before work, most of the time after work. And then I try to do some like bike. I try to get into bicycling a lot more, but it's so much effort and time, right? So like I would say that fitness was something I struggled with this season, like as far as like the riding aspects, like endurance and things. Like I could do really well for like a lap or two, like like Pittsburgh, for example. Like my second race was terrible because like halfway through the race, I just couldn't even maintain focus to even like manage to go through the S's, and it was just like was frustrated because it was like my body was like, nope, we can't do it anymore, and I was like, I just want to go, like so it's definitely something on the radar to like focus on for next year. The fitness is really hard to focus on while also trying to manage, the job, a personal life, like dating life, whatever that may be. So I tried to get a little bit of a program. Ethan and I are working for next year to make it a little bit better. Um, Definitely take a break for a bit and unwind. Agreed. Yeah, I'm excited to go to Cancun for it's only for like a couple days. Like it's literally like I fly in Wednesday and I'm gone till Sunday. But I'm gonna turn my phone off. Well, at least for my work stuff and not bring my laptop or anything. So pretty stoked. Oh my goodness, you are a mess. If you decide to only race one series, do you have a preference? And do you think there's more to learn in either class? Um this is something I talked to one of my sponsors about, because it's something I struggle with, right? So like I did way better in Super Hooligans than I did in Super Sport on paper, right? Like results wise, like I did better. But uh I enjoy Super Sport because it is all the race rounds and it's like basically the next premier class below Superbike. So it's like I want to like do the premier class because it gets more attention. There's more like eyes on it. I don't know, like, but Super Hooligans had more participation, right? But it's also like a lot of club racers that like because there's no prerequisites to get into Super Hooligans, right? So it's just like a lot of club racers that like buy a bike and go race. Not to say that the competition isn't still there because there's still some MotoAmerica guys, right? But it's just a little bit different of a class structure. So my heart kind of lies in Super Sport, and I think there's more to learn to get faster in Super Sport, right? Because I'm in the back of the pack and I'm like still learning my way through that. Whereas like Super Hooligans, I'm kind of like in the front, and there's some struggle with people with mechanicals and bikes losing oil and track. It's like you get less track time, all those things, right? So like Super Sport is definitely like a little bit more important to Moto America, and I think a little bit more important to me. But it's not to say like if someone were to be like, hey, like we'll pay for a race program for you to do Super Hooligans or whatever, like it is what it is, right? People go where they can still race. So, what do you think was your best bit of coaching over the course of the season? Lessons learned. Um, good one. Uh, I think my biggest lesson learned this season was, like to kind of have like a short-term memory, right? Like, and I think all racers kind of say that, right? Like as a racer, we say like we're supposed to have a short-term memory because that's how we keep going fast after we crash and everything, right? But I struggled a lot this year with when we'd have a red flag and the race would get restarted. I'd have like a really good start on the first one, and I was like stoked and I was in it. And then the red flag would hit, and then we'd be like sitting on pit wall, and then I'd be just thinking about the fact that I had a really good start, and then I would psych myself out because I'd be sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, like I need to get a better start. I need to get a better start. Like I need to get a good start again so I can like redo what we did before." And then inevitably I would have a worse start. And then the whole race would just be me like at either crash because I was so frantic about trying to get where I was before in the previous race, or like I would just think about that the whole time and then just ride really bad because I felt like it was like I kept thinking about, well, I was doing better last time. Right. So like I really need to work on the like when we get a red flag and we restart, like we gotta like re-engage the focus and just forget about the other one, right? Because the other one doesn't matter. Like the other start didn't matter. Doesn't It's gone. It's over. So that was definitely my biggest lesson this year because that happened a couple times to me, which was a really big bummer, honestly, to like think about that. Would you stop freaking out? Um, so that would be my biggest lesson. Ow, ow, ow. That's my hand. It's hard to unwind for the season, but it's a must. As you know, we switched bikes with 2 races left to start on next season. Yeah, actually, I didn't even notice at first, and then I was like, "Why is CJ?" And then I was like, "Where did this Gixxer come from?" And then I realized that it was CJ's. But yeah, I mean, it was good for him though to kind of get a head start on that, right? Like now you're a little bit more ahead of the game for next year. How much did you have to coordinate crew and travel for each round? Did you get some help from the Super Hooligan side and sponsorship? So, my Super Hooligan sponsorship with Ducati Richmond was contingent on, well, Brody, get out. Come on. Was contingent on me managing the program on my own. So, like, basically, like, hey, I'm going to manage all the logistics and everything like that. So I basically uh, managed all of the logistics of the entire program this year, the transport for the bikes, the people, the lodging, uh, all of that stuff. So when we had the Super Hooligans rounds, we did Airbnbs for the team because we had more people. And then um, with the Super Sport program, we tried to run it a little bit light just to save on some monies. And so we kind of did some hotel situations and a little bit less of the larger logistics side or lodging side. Have you thought about keeping the Yamaha and Super Sport or switching? Well, so there's been a lot of thoughts this year about what I'm doing for next year in Super Sport. So, um, yeah, so this year we did the Cowie. They allowed the Kawasaki in again for another year because the Mectronics still aren't ready. So the Kawasaki is still allowed in for the 2024 season. So I have lots of spares and bikes put together for the Kawasaki program, right? I've got 3 of them at this point, in various stages of disarray. So I'm thinking, I'm like, well, we could do the Kawasaki program with a lot less money because I already have all the bits to put it together. Um, but I think that it is not the appropriate answer for super sport, right? Like the V2 and the Gixxers, and I think are the better answer. So I would really love to put together a V2 program for next season. That's kind of what I like, where I think it would be fun to do a Ducati. I think there's a lot of Ducati teams coming in next year, but that's obviously going to take a lot more time and effort and money. And I don't know anything about Ducatis besides what I know about my hyper. I mean, they're motorcycles, right? They're the same, but I know a lot about ZX6s because I've worked on them and put them back together multiple times. So like, I don't know. It's daunting to think, like, it's daunting to do, like, switch a bike program on my own as a privateer. For sure. Like, I think if I was like, oh, like if I do the Kawasaki thing, I at least know a little bit more about it. It's a little bit more less daunting of a task. But that's not to say that it's not feasible, right? I didn't think I'd be able to do a full season this year. That was pretty daunting, and we survived. So, but yeah. What's up, Robert? Um, Brush. I hate red flag restart rules. It sucks. It's the worst. I'd love to hear the story behind the near miss where you almost got taken out on TV. It looked so close. Oh yeah. Brainerd? Yeah, it was even closer to me in my eyes, to be honest. It looked close on TV and it looked close. It was probably the scariest moment of my race career, to be honest. The guy went for a pass on me, and when he went for it, it was really late, so I was already tipped in. And as he went by, I hit it, like he hits me and like bumps me out. Right? It's like MotoGP turns, and you're like using the people as bumpers to keep you in. So he hit me, and then like I would like stood up a little bit, right? And I'm like, oh okay. And then I go to get back on the throttle to like chase after him because I'm like, well, I'll just get him on the entry of the next turn. And I go to go, and then he just high sides himself to the moon. And his bike goes one way, his body goes the other, right? And I literally, like, I didn't even hesitate on the throttle. I just kept the throttle. I didn't even have time. And I just went, oh, and I literally screamed in my helmet. And I was just like, oh, fuck. And I put my head down and I closed my eyes. And then I like kept going. And then I like popped up and I was like, oh my God, I just made it. And then, of course, I had to like re engage and keep going, right? Because at that point, they hadn't red flagged it or anything. Like, it wasn't an immediate red flag. They were just like, because like I didn't realize that Justin got taken out behind him or behind me. And so I kept going and it took forever for them to red flag it. But I had to like re-engage my focus and I came in, my eyeballs are huge. And Don and Fuzzy were like, are you okay? And I was like, oh, I'm good. And I was like, he hit me on this side though. So like check everything. And I sat there and it was just like panic. Like it was crazy. Like it was for sure like there was no time to react. I thought for sure I was gonna run him over. I was like, I'm gonna run him over, I'm gonna run his bike over, like I'm done for. So um what are you doing, doggo? Yeah, I was just about to go check on you. That makes sense to a V2 if you do the Super Hooligan series again and have support from Richmond. For sure. I don't know. So as much as I would love to do 2 programs again, I don't know that it really benefited my like, hey, get out of there. Don't eat that. I don't know that it benefited my race career, and really like it was great to have a little bit more track time, right? But then it also made me really tired, and mentally it was like 2 different bikes. Like, right, I'm hopping back from the Super Hooligan to Super Sport, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm riding a real bike now. Like, okay, like I gotta push my brake markers deeper. It's mentally a lot. And I think out of all things considered, Brody, get out of there. Get out. Get out. It's gonna chew on my cables, I'm sure of it. So I don't think it really helped me at all because it was so much things. Like I had to learn a new racetrack and learn 2 bikes and figure out, the gearing and give feedback, and like it was just so many things all at once. So it would definitely be easier next year, like because we did it once, but did I really want to do that again? Like I don't know. Running your program by yourself is a lot to handle. You did a fantastic job. People don't understand what an uphill task it is to coordinate personal travel and bike travel. It is a lot. The and as you have plans set in place, right? And then next thing you know, like your plans fall through because something happened or someone got fired or, teams move around and things just happen. And then next thing you know, you're like, okay, now I got to like replan, right? Readjust. I'm going to put Pupper in his kennel because I don't trust him. All right, come here. Come here, crazy child. Come here. Ugh, say goodbye for a second. I know. Oh. Beep. Ugh. Puppy energy. Okay. Beep. So now we don't have crazy puppy running around. Okay. Especially fitness is hard to keep up on a high level. Yeah. The super hooligan was like weird too. It's like a whole different like arm muscle, right? Because it's like more upright. So then I'm like, and there's nothing to hang on to or like grip the tank. And so I'm like doing a push up like the whole time. And so like, yeah, my little girl arms were were hurting for sure. What role did Sarah and her husband play helping you this year? Yeah, so Sarah and Chris helped me. Well, Chris helped build my motorcycles this year. So he built both the Super Sport and the Super Hooligan with some help from Lanigan and Don and Fuzzy. Like a lot of people stepped in this year to help me. But Sarah and Chris and I kind of joined forces with the two teams to kind of put together riding with Carbon. Brody, no. I know he's gonna eat everything. So we kind of joined forces to try to help with the logistics aspect and the lodging and the planning. So I was really helping Sarah and um, Chris also planned their team as well. So we were basically just trying to make it so it was easier on cost for everybody. And Sarah does an amazing job of managing riders and making sure we're fed and coffeed and everything. So yeah, we basically just did like a big learning experience of what teams could do, together and everything like that. So we got transport together for the first part of the season and just a lot of that planning aspect stuff that Chris and Sarah helped me out with. Um, do you have a pre-race routine like listening to tunes, visualizing, stretching, doing karate? Doing karate sounds like a great pre-race ritual. So, I've tried a lot. So, originally I didn't really have one, and then I tried for a bit doing like music and sitting on the bike and doing a mental lap, and uh, I don't know that I'm really one for those kind of like processes. Like I like to sit and like breathe a little bit beforehand, but not really listen to music, do any of that stuff. Like I think what it does worse for me if I do that is like it gets me over psyched up. Like I psych myself out. Like I sit there and I'm just like, okay, I gotta focus, I gotta focus, and then I'm just like, then I panic because I get like this anxiety, and I'd rather just like go out and just like go, like not necessarily just go out and have fun, but like go out and not overanalyze and doubt myself, right? Because if I overthink it, then I'm just like doubting what's gonna happen, and I'm like, am I capable and all these things and like XYZ, and so um yeah, so I don't know. I kind of like to just like visit and hang out right beforehand, and then just like basically like right before go out and go. So, how did you manage your regular job duties on the road? Was it hard to focus on getting ready for races? For sure. It is not something I recommend to anyone trying to do professional racing or to perform at a 110% level. It is difficult. It takes a lot of brain space, right? So I'm a project manager for a private civil engineering firm, and that requires me to be able to be around to coordinate projects and the design team and answer questions for the clients. And so I'm answering emails on Thursdays and Fridays, or at least a little bit on Fridays, right? We've got practice and qualifying. So my work has been really good about working with me on like trying to get that stuff figured out. But I basically block out my calendar when I'm on track. So it says like I'm unavailable. So they know that they can't reach me. And then any other time, I just basically am on like on call and then I should be available to like work. But it's very challenging, right? Because you're like, oh, I need to focus on doing this thing and like I need to coordinate this and my tire window and my wheels and it just like it's a million things. So it ends up being a lot. And would I be better off not having a job and doing racing or just racing and, or doing a job and not racing? For sure, right? You can do one thing really well and two things kind of okay. So it's not perfect and it wasn't this season. I learned a lot and now I can kind of take that with me for next year and see what we can do differently. If I could do this without a day job, for sure, but I can't. So therefore I have to like kind of figure out how to get it to work with my day job, you know? Are you surprised about next year's schedule? I was surprised no Pittsburgh race for me this year. Yeah, I was surprised about Pittsburgh. I honestly thought it would have been Brainerd that they would have killed because like all the superbike guys and everything were upset about Brainerd. And were uncertain on whether or not they really wanted to do Brainerd. So it was interesting. A lot of people like talked about the grass thing being an issue. I don't know. Like really liked Pittsburgh and I thought that Pittsburgh was like a good track on the circuit. I don't know. I was also looking forward to not having to learn any new racetracks next year, and then they added Mid Ohio, and I was like, dang it. So, but one racetrack feels a lot less daunting than 9 or 10. You know. Did you have any other coaching help other than JP this year, and how instrumental was that input overall? Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I didn't have any official coaching other than what I did with JP. And JP and I honestly wanted to do a little bit more one-on-one coaching this year that we didn't quite get to because we both have really busy schedules. So I kind of had to just do a lot of stuff while I was there. So the hard part about the season is like once the season starts, there's not a whole lot you can do, right? So I didn't have another race bike at home to do any training with. So I did some coaching, like coaching other people at home, but I didn't do any other coaching or like training for myself. So all of my coaching and development this year throughout the season was basically at these new racetracks trying to learn them. And so I didn't actually really work on my like quote unquote like skills to like really get better because every time we were going to a track, it was like I had to learn the racetrack and then apply the skills I already kind of had, right? The tools I already had in my tool belt to learn the thing. Like there's not just not enough time to do any of that. So it being a full season entry, you can't do track days beforehand within that 30-day window, even though people did. But like there was not really a lot of opportunity for me to really develop any of that stuff. But I will say that a lot of people in the paddock helped me out with learning the racetracks. Like, I did track walks with JP and, Rispoli and a lot of those guys, and like Ethan got some advice from Jake Gagne and Campy and Brandon Posh, like and like kind of relayed that information to me on like what kind of the key points were for the racetrack. So I still got a lot of help from a lot of cool people in the paddock that were really like they're very down to earth, like very approachable people that were very like wanting to help me, and that was cool because it's like inspiring to not feel like I'm just an annoyance to them. I'm not that little like punk wannabe MotoAmerica racer trying to get into MotoAmerica kind of thing. I'm trying not to be, like just annoying or anything like that. So, but that was very helpful. I couldn't have done it without all of their help, because like JP hasn't ridden some of these tracks for a while. And so it's not always like he's kind of like he's ping ponging ideas off of other people, that have ridden it more. And so it's kind of a group effort for sure. Like it takes a village. Um, Yeah, surprised no pit race and no VIR. Yeah, I never ridden VIR. Took that obviously off the schedule before I started riding MotoAmerica. Did you find that you built supportive relationships with riders in other classes, Superbike, Stock 1000, etc.? For sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I just developed a lot of relationships with people in MotoAmerica. It was that was like part of my goal this year was to like my name there and to be there and put on a good show and like just get the whole vibe of Moto America paddock, right? Like you go to one Moto America round and you're like the one off, kind of like local person and no one really knows you, no one really pays attention. And then like you go and you pony up to do the full season and then all of a sudden people are like, wow, who's this person that's doing this full season? How are it's crazy. How are they doing that? And but I met a lot of people through that of like, oh hey, I'm managing my own program with two bikes and all that stuff. And it was really cool to like kind of develop that and develop those relationships in Moto America because that's kind of how you keep going, right? Like you have to learn and meet people to help you out. Like it's just kind of how it is. But yeah, I mean all those guys in other classes and stuff are really approachable people. Like I said, Jake and Cam and uh Maddie Skoltz, like all of them are just like great people to be around and totally understand like all the trials and tribulations of it all. I actually like kind of a sad story, I guess, but like with the whole New Jersey thing, I came out of race control and couldn't really contain the tears. So I came out and I was kind of crying definitely crying. And I walked out, and Campy and Maddie and Jake Gagne and Ethan were all kind of standing out there chatting about something else, and they all like stopped and were like, "Hey, what happened?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, XYZ." And I told them the whole story, and they all gave me a hug, and they were like, "That's BS. Like, you should have been." And like, they were just really supportive, and it was like that moment where I was like, "Oh, like the super red guys are supporting little old me." It was very endearing for sure. When you coach others, do you feel it slows you down at all having to do a different pace? It can. It's definitely not helpful for my like riding. As far as like me developing anything, I don't think it slows me down. It can, right? Like if you do coaching for a long time, like you don't really go fast anymore, and then it's kind of hard to build that back up. You get kind of lazy. I had a really good students this year that actually were very very quick considering all of it. Like as far as like we weren't podunking around, Uh and a lot of people that were really trying to like I had one of the girls that I coach, she's a best. And it's really cool because she tries really hard, and so it's easy for me to just be able to help no matter what the skill level and the pace is, because I just like the investment and the time and the effort and the wanting to learn is the part that I like and therefore, right? Like I appreciate that they're like trying really hard and working really hard to do it, because if they weren't, then I wouldn't want to be there. Um, but yeah, I don't know that it necessarily slows me down. It's just not any track time that helps me develop anything. JP has a big village to pull from. Yeah, with Hogs Foley. Yeah. No, they all, and I mean, like Gilbert, yeah, Gilbert did a track walk with us at New Jersey. Uh, so yeah, I mean, like it takes a village, and yeah, JP has a lot of really great people that are really willing to help and give you advice and all that stuff. And I don't always take up people up on it when they're like, "Hey, like, come ask me any questions," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna bother you," and like, you're doing your own thing. Like that's just not who I am. Jordan. Class is over, so sound on. Nice. If there's one area for MA to improve in, what would it be in your opinion? Um, for MotoAmerica themselves to improve on, consistency and fairness. I don't know. I feel like they're a professional organization, and I don't always feel like they operate that way, to be honest. And like sometimes the things that they do and the calls that they make are just kind of more club level things. So for what it's worth. um, how did the commercial come about, and what was it like seeing the behind the scenes of what all goes into that? Oh my god, it was so cool. So that came about because they CF Moto actually, or Rally Studios, the production team that put it together, asked the Ridge for recommendation of local riders to ride, and I think they were looking for a female and a male. And so she mentioned me and like texted me and was like, "Hey, I've got this thing. Would you want to do it?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I do." Instantly was like, "Yes, for sure." So then I got in communication with them, and then we put that together. So Debrino came up for it to ride. He did the dirt stuff, and then we did the track stuff, and then we got to ride at like the nuke plant, like in the warehouse and stuff on the naked bikes and everything. And it was so cool to like see all the behind the scenes stuff, like what goes on to do all that. Like you don't realize how many people are there and the team that puts it together. And you're like, you see just like that 2 minute video and you're like, wow, it's 2 minutes. Like, great. It was like 6 days of filming, right? Like full days, like 8-hour days of just like driving around and getting all these spots and doing all these videos. Like it was insane. Like, it was just so much effort, but it was so cool to, like, see it and then to see the finished product just made me feel, like, so cool. Like, "Well, there's me," and, like, you can't really tell, but I'm like, "There's me, I promise, there's me." So, yeah, I hope to do more of those in the future, honestly, because like, it was really cool to, like, do that. What is your favorite off-track activity while at a race weekend? Off-track activity at a race weekend? I don't know, visiting with people. I just like to bebop around and talk. Surprising. Um Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I really enjoy the like the socializing and hearing the stories, the bench racing stories. Like you sit and talk with like Mesa and his parents, and you hear all sorts of things, and it's cool to like hang out with people that you would never really meet and hear their backstory and just learn more about them. So, would you consider doing a video or some coaching for other newer riders about just how much goes into running a season of MA? For sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't really know, like, obviously there wasn't a lot of resources for me to really figure it out. And as a club racer, like you kind of just got to like muddle your way through it. I think that Moto America could do a better job of organizing the resources and how to do it too, because it's like kind of all over the place on like how to get registered and how to get your license. And I had a lot of WIMRA people uh ask me for help this year about how to get it and do the points thing. And unfortunately, WIMRA is not AMA sanctioned and they don't let people just like in anymore like they used to. And so now you have to go down to like Chuckwalla or AFM and do races down there to even get your license. So those kind of nuancy things, like I've been telling people, as I learn them, right? Like I coached a guy this year. It was his novice year, but he is a motocross background. He's a professional motocross racer, and so he was doing amazing, like at our local club event. And he's like, I want to do MotoAmerica. And I was like, all right, well, you got to start now. Like, get your expert license and go to Chuckwalla, start racing in the winter, get your points. So yeah, I think I could definitely do that if there was a desire for it. I think the hard part is crowdsourcing some of this stuff is that like people like get really excited about something or tell me that they're excited, and then I do it and I don't feel like I get the same response when something like that happens. So sometimes I get a little discouraged by like, oh, like people are really excited, or like maybe it's not what people want, or I don't know. Then there's like the judgment thing. But yeah, I for sure could put some stuff together on that, or even just, yeah, just a little quick video of like the how to's or the tips I learned. Um, Communication. Yeah, communication for sure could be improved on. In MA, were there any personalities that surprised you? Like you thought they'd be one way and they were totally different? Mm, I feel like I was just talking to someone about this the other day because I was talking about how I thought, oh, Xavi Flores. Although he was a little bit of a jerk at a Jersey, but not to me personally, but because I might have like messed up his lap at the end. But he, I congratulated him at his Ridge Round wins or whatever. I saw him in the pits and I was like, hey, like, congrats. And I just expected him to say, like, thank you and like, we'll keep walking. But he like stopped and was like, how did your day go? Like, how did your races go? Like, how did you do? And like, was asking me questions about how my day went. And I was like, oh, well, that was nice. And so he actually like talked to me about how like my races went and whatnot. And he was like actually like genuinely like curious about uh my like racing and stuff. And I don't know, I just assumed that he'd be kind of like hot headed or, like just kind of full of himself. I don't know. Like Heron sometimes can give that off, right? Like he gives off the full of himself vibe or is too busy to talk kind of deal. And I just assumed that was how he was gonna be, and he wasn't. I was pretty surprised. What is the craziest thing you saw off track this year? Mm, what do you mean? Like people doing shenanigans or like I don't know, like I can't disclose what other people are doing outside of Moto America business hours. Um, what your goal is in Moto America. Mine was making a super sport grid. Now that it's happened, my goal is different. Wondering if you had previous goals that have since moved as well. Yeah, so my goal this season was to qualify at all of the race rounds. Um, it controversial opinion, but I feel like I can say that I did that still. I don't know. Eh, but yeah, I definitely think that my goal is since moved, like I think my top finish last year was 13th. This year was 15th, but I think mainly because there was more people at the Ridge round than there was the year before. So I think really it would be like to get a top 10 finish, like that would probably be my goal for next year, or get some more points. I think this year we only got like 2 or 4 points. So maybe just getting more points. I don't really like to do result based goals though, because then you just focus on that throughout the season. Whereas if you focus on like process based goals, like we did do like I was talking to my crew chief and we talked about like next year, like we should be within 105% of the fastest guy by Q1. So at any racetrack, right? So that's kind of like the goal is just to really be like, hey, like let's go faster than we did this year right off the bat next year. So that's kind of a goal. As far as big picture of like what I'm doing with Moto America, I think I really enjoyed the aspect of like challenging myself to do the thing as well as motivating others, right? Like I really like I really enjoy being the role model for the other girls and the little kids. Like people don't realize, like I talk to all the fans whenever they walk by and they like pause, and look at my bike. They're like, "Wow, it's so pretty." And like if I'm not geared up or anything, they stop and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then they're like, they look at me kind of funny, and then they're like, "Are you the rider?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "Oh my goodness, that's so cool." But they just don't assume that, right? So like I try to just like engage people and like really get that whole like fan base involved and showing all those kids that they can do it, right? Because people just don't think that still. As much as we're like think that that's still a thing, it's not quite there yet. Um, let's see the crowd. I didn't really see any crazy crowd things this year. Yeah, I don't think I really saw anything too crazy. I don't know. There was a lot of like fans at New Jersey that were just sitting out in the rain. So there's that. We'll see. Got the short end at Jersey. I would agree with you. Hear JP talk about racecraft a lot. I know there's always something to learn, but what was your biggest lesson this year? Don't be in the back of the pack of the grid because you're gonna get hit. Yeah, I don't. Uh, the back of the MotoAmerica grid is a little bit interesting of a place, to be honest with you. It is a lot of people that are trying to do the MotoAmerica thing and are frantic to do better and don't necessarily have the racecraft. And so I got hit. I got taken out at one round. By a guy. I got hit 3 other separate times this year, and then I almost got taken out at one of the rounds that, like, I got on video of, like, this guy that, like, tucked the front and tried to take me out. So and granted, it's not like they're not trying to do it to me, right? But that's just what they do for everything, and I get it. Like, if you're riding above your head or riding with your hair around and, like, on fire, like, that's just how you're gonna ride? Um, and I feel like that definitely happens to that back of the pack. So, like, qualifying is really important, and, at that point, it's just like getting a really good start and being more aggressive. Like that was another goal of mine for next year is to really be more aggressive on the starts. Like I get really good starts, but then I go into turn one and I'm like, panic. And then I let off and then everybody goes back by me and then I have to work my way to get back up. So it's just something like, oh, I have this really good strength of getting good starts, but now I got to be more aggressive into turn one. It's just kind of how it goes. The super sport level, which electronic rider aids are available? How much does that help her race day setup? Yeah, I mean, you have traction control, engine braking, the usual. I wouldn't say like that was not my job to manage any of that stuff. Prior to Moto America, I never really messed with it anyway. But my crew chief handles all of that when he looks at the data now. So I mean, it can definitely help the race day setup. It could also hurt, but like most of the time, you use that first day. Like I think we always basically described it as like practice one is for the rider to get comfortable and to get the bike, to see if there's anything that needs to happen to the bike. The second the second or qualifying one is for the mechanic, is for him to like make changes to the bike or whatever to like get some data. And then your third one is just to go fast. Your qualifying two is to go fast and kind of put it all together. That's kind of what we kind of did as like a framework. And it's a little different next year as we've like already learned the racetracks. So next year will be a little bit different. Did you interact with any of the mini cup riders much, give advice or encouragement during their races? Honestly, I didn't really. We went over and watched one of the races at Pittsburgh. We went over and watched. It was crazy. Those kids are gnarly. Like the passes they were making were nuts. But they have a lot of Moto America support right now. Of a lot of people like Easy, like Isaiah, and all of like I think like I can't remember if it was like Hunter Dunham, like a couple of those guys are already going over there and like helping all those kids. So, and I don't really know any of them yet. Like maybe I should like introduce myself and like talk to them a little bit. But with everything that I had going on, I just did not have necessarily the time or the bandwidth to like go over there and like help or be around that. Um, for your moto buddy, if he's good, MA gave me a super sport license based on my Super Hooligans results. I have 8 points in expert AFM to my name, but I guess that points to Moto America's consistency. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. So, because I know a buddy who was riding stock 1000 at Wimra, and he didn't have any points with any other organizations, and they denied him a Moto America license. But it might also depend on like who you know too. But yeah, if you like have Moto America experience, maybe they're a little bit more lenient. I don't know. Mid pack isn't much better. Yeah, I'm aware. I mean, it's just a bunch of hothead racers, right? Do I stay on Dunlops year round since I race on them in MotoAmerica? Yes. Yeah. So since I switched to Dunlops from Pirellis, uh, right before my 2022 season, or 2022 rounds, I guess, I have stayed on Dunlops ever since. Sorry, I'm gonna plug this in so they don't die. I don't trust that they're not gonna die on me, so which I don't really love, right? But like, I don't know. Like I haven't ridden on Pirellis in a couple years now, so um, I don't even know how I like if I would be able to or not. I don't know. Something different. People think since we are at the track for every race, we see a lot of racing, and that's not really true. Always working on something. Yeah, I mean, like I don't watch any races throughout the weekends, and then like I even have some time to like watch stuff, but I just don't because I just visiting instead. Uh, but uh, yeah, it's like I watch everything and catch up. Like I'll like go to bed after like a day at the track and I'll be like on Instagram and I'll see all the highlights of all the crashes. I'm like, oh, so and so crashed, or like, wow, so and so won, and I like have no idea what even happened. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. Like, guess that proves to be. Um, I also tell that to people that like are wanting to work on my crew because I'm like, well, if you want to work on my crew, you're gonna be working. You're not gonna be like actually watching anything. They're different. Is there a big difference from tire brand to tire brand? Yes and no. Depends on who you ask. I would say that they operate a little differently. Like they kind of lose traction differently. That was based on my experience back in the day. I honestly couldn't give you a fair assessment unless I like rode on Pirellis now because I'm a lot faster than when I rode on Pirellis before. So my data point for Pirellis is a lot different than it would be if I rode them like, tomorrow. I'd love to see the tire wars come back. Miss those days. Yeah, I can't say I ever was around for those days. It seems a little bit like obviously we talk about like the support in the industry just isn't as good as it used to be, and that's obviously the same with like brands and manufacturers and tires. Like back in the day when they were giving away like thousands of dollars in tire budgets and FOCs and all that stuff, and now they don't really do that anymore. So I don't know. It's kind of just what it is. I get it. We're all just trying to do the thing. Um, whoop. Tim, are you guys all packed up and headed to Chuckwalla, or are you guys already there? Or also not too bummed that I'm missing Chuck because it seems like there's a lot of people that aren't going to Chuck either. But like the whole JP crew is all in Jerez. Oh my god, it's so bright. Sorry. Ah, let's not do that. Uh, one of the things uh, I'm trying to work at MotoAmerica events either for MA or a team is I'll miss all the freedom to wander around and hang out with all sorts of people. Yeah. That's something I thought about too. Is like if I can't put together like a season next year, I might just try to like come help out at some of the rounds. I don't know, because then at least I get to still hang out with peeps, even if I'm not racing. It'd be a bummer for sure, but so much fun cheering for me this year. Thank you. I really appreciate any and everyone's support. Like it keeps me motivated to keep doing it because it makes me feel like I'm doing something cool. I don't know. It's like validating a little bit to feel like it's cool and people enjoy it. Um, what's your diet during the week? Uh, whatever. I don't really have a strict meal plan or diet. So one of the things is like I am below minimum rider weight, and so I have minimum bike and rider combined weight. So we have to add weight anyway. As I know, like we're talking about fitness and weight, but like I don't I necessarily have to worry about gaining any weight. But I do try to eat like I don't really eat out fast food or anything like that as much. It's like a once every month kind of thing. But I do like, pizza, carbs, pasta, like all the things. I am not on a strict like diet at all by any means. I've reached out to Fresh and Lean a couple times about sponsorship and support because I was like, it'd be really great to not have to like think about making food because that's my biggest thing is like I don't like to meal prep. I hate it. It's not enjoyable to me. And I don't like to eat the same thing every day. Like it's just not me. Like I just like variety. Like I know some people like make the same thing and eat it for lunch and dinner, and I just can't do that. Can't do it. JP came back today, I think. I'd imagine he'd be at Chuck this weekend. I don't think he's coming. The last time I talked to him, he said he wasn't gonna be there. But that was a couple weeks ago. It could have changed. Um, but yeah. How did you choose your colors? Well, uh I really like so my favorite color is Tiffany blue. And that was kind of what I was going for with my bike color, which it's apparently very incredibly challenging to paint Tiffany blue or to find colors to make Tiffany blue in a paint for like cars. So we kind of ended up with a more like brighter just blue in general. Uh but I think it's actually like Porsche Miami blue is what we ended up at with some different combinations of colors. But I just really like blue, and then the pink was gonna go really well with like we did some pink accents, even though I don't really like pink. Originally, there was some plans with a team that was gonna be we I was gonna be predominantly blue and with pink accents, and then the other person on the team would be pink with but majority pink with some blue accents. But that team is no longer a thing, so here I am with my pink and blue. But yeah, blue for sure is just my color, and I'm gonna keep it as long as I can, unless some sponsor comes in and tells me I can't paint it blue anymore. I'm old. I remember the tire wars. I believe they said one tire rule because tire wars was too spendy for teams to buy tires to support the wars. Interesting. Sounds fun. You mentioned imposter syndrome in a previous post. Do you feel like you've earned your place this season? A little bit. There are still moments where I still feel like I don't necessarily belong there. I Yeah, it's hard, right? Like sometimes like I can't afford it for one. uh but like on my own anyway, right? And then two is just like I didn't start racing motorcycles like a young age, like, Kayla and all these other guys that have been doing it since they were like, old enough to walk. And so it's hard to just like say like, oh, like I just need to go faster and, do better. And I still feel like I'm holding my own, but, like, I want more for myself. I'm too competitive. Like, I just wanna be doing better, and so when I'm not doing better, I feel like I'm just not gonna ever do better, you know? And the last couple rounds this season for me were really tough and made me feel like, "Well, maybe I'm not cut out for this," you know? And so but people always tell me, they're like, "Well, if we didn't believe in you, and we didn't think that you could do it, like, we wouldn't be here supporting you." So that there's all that, right? And that's why I always appreciate the support and the kind words from everybody because I'm still pretty hard on myself about it. But I do feel like I did make a name for myself this year and I did prove that I could do it. So there's that. But I still feel like there's more in the tank to give. So we're getting better, but some days are better than others. Use that Gagne Campy connection to get some fresh and lean. Yeah, good call. Good call. I should try to do that. I don't know. I try not to bother them about their stuff and their supporters, right? 'Cause they don't really deal with that stuff personally, I don't think. Bass boat, Tiffany blue. You know what's funny is you guys brought that up, and I was like, "What is bass boat blue?" And then I realized that I rode on a like wakeboarding boat that was like really expensive one time, and it was bass boat blue. Like it was like blue with like giant sparkles, and it was really cool. So I do remember that. The color stands out on the track and the ponytail. That's the point. I was trying to make it so you could like actually see where I'm at on the racetrack. I think we accomplished that. Taking the Josh Hayes route, starting when you're older. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot more of a challenge. I don't know, like Josh Hayes still like he's still like started racing professionally like right out of high school, right? Like when you talk to him, like he's never had a real job. Like he's raced motorcycles professionally his whole life. So I don't know, like he still has done racing for a long time. Next year, when you prepare for the season, would you change any part of your routine or training? For sure. Yeah. So I'm already planning on when I get back from Cancun to like talk to Ethan about we're gonna talk to Ethan. I'm gonna talk to Ethan about putting together a program and stuff already. So we're gonna start training now, you know. Um oh, see you later. Jordan. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Nice job this year and good job on your super sport stuff. It was really cool riding with you. Super fun at Coda, and I hope to see you more next year. Um, yeah, so I think that we're gonna start, doing some more training before the season starts because I really did feel like towards the end of the season my endurance was getting a lot better. So this winter I'm gonna work on a lot more endurance training stuff, not just like riding at Chuckwalla, but doing bicycle rides and really just being adamant about that. And maybe I do actually utilize a like diet, and like focus on nutrition as well. Because I think starting off on the right foot on the fitness side will make the riding throughout the season a lot easier too. So I think it's really important to start with that next year for sure. Uh, we need more men's M logo merch. Okay, we can work on that. We can work on that. What kind of merch do you want? You need to like shoot that over. Like we're trying to put some stuff together, but I try not to manage that a lot because it's a lot of work. You sound like every rider in MotoAmerica. You're doing an awesome job. Thanks, John. Definitely accomplished being seen and highly visible on track. For sure. Uh, Nate, where do you think you'll find the most improvement for 2024? Super cool to see you in Jersey. By the way, can't wait for next year. Thanks. Yeah, no, I can't wait for next year too. Well, I can't wait for next year, but also I'm like kind of enjoying the time to not be doing motorcycle stuff. Here I am, but you know, I'm not a Chuckwalla, so um I think for 2024, it's gonna be nice to know all the racetracks besides Mid Ohio, but it's gonna be nice to like actually have like ridden them before and not have to like go to a new track and have the nervous Nellies of like I've never been here and I don't know how this track goes, right? So that'll be cool because I do feel like it was really like nerve wracking and like really stressful to try to like learn the racetracks, because you don't get a lot of time. So I think that automatically we should be starting out of the gate a lot faster than we were this year. Might try to take a lot of notes. But yeah, so I think that it'll be cool to, um, but I don't know. Actually, where do you think you find them? Do you think like where's in location, like racetrack wise? I don't know. Hard to say. Um, Hats, shirts, hoodies, or sweats are my preference. M logo looks so good. Okay, well, we'll try to get some more stuff going. Um, yeah. So the story behind the logo is pretty cool. I mean, like I didn't really know what to do for my logo for my racing stuff, and yeah, I just kind of like I don't know, but the story is that like when I first started street riding, I was part of this group. We called ourselves the Justice League, and I was Wonder Woman. And since those days, two of the people in that group have died in motorcycle accidents, and the rest of the group is kind of disbanded. So we kind of fell apart. But they were really great people, and I really miss, especially my friend Arturo and Chris. And well, I was in Vegas, and I was coming down, and I was like really trying to think of this logo. I was like, what do I want to do for a logo for my racing team? Like, I want something creative, and I'm not that creative, and I can't draw. And I was coming down the escalator in this like Vegas hotel and I saw the Wonder Woman slot machine. And I was like, oh, I know what I want to do. And then literally like came up with it right then and there. I was like, we could just flip it upside down and make it an M. And I was like, I'm ready to go. So that's kind of where that came from. And I think it's been really cool to see it kind of develop into like my brand, it's been awesome. And Jeff at Inline 4 drew that up for me originally. So Patreon is a cool merch option from my understanding. You select what you want, upload a design, and boom, it's available, just giving options. Okay. Yeah, I was using Teespring, I think, for a while, but their quality wasn't very good. I was like kind of disappointed with like the actual shirt quality. A lot of those sites just don't have very good like quality stuff. So I've been using Motosteen to do a lot of that stuff for me because Eric and Maria are wonderful and Eric puts together a lot of the designs for the t-shirts and put them on his website. And he's kind of vetted out some of the quality on those shirts and stuff. So that kind of has helped a bunch. So I think we could probably do the same thing with a lot of the other stuff and throw it on their website as well. But um logo is amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you think sim racing would have helped you learn the new tracks? For sure. I mean, like I bought Forza 7 um because it had the most amount of MotoAmerica tracks. Although they're coming out with the Forza Motorsports, so that's cool. But I bought that because it had the most amount of racetracks, so I could still like drive it, even if it wasn't on a sim. I have a buddy who owns a sim uh, store, a place that has sims. Um, and but it's like way up north from me, so it's kind of hard to justify that, and I can't really afford to buy a sim, so kind of just making do with what I got. But I do think sim racing is very helpful. I mean, that's why a lot of people do it, right? Surrounded by graphic designers and your logo is fire. Nice. Since you're headed to Cancun, what's going to be your go-to tropical drink? I don't know. I could always go for a good margarita. Mai Tais from time to time, but they're a little bit too sweet. Uh, I don't know. Probably just some good old margaritas with some like fresh guacamole and chips. Oh, so good. I can't wait. I'm so stoked. Do you have a side you don't like to lean off as much? For me, it's the right, but practice makes perfect. For sure, it's the right for me as well. I spent years never dragging my right knee, only my left. We just didn't have any racetracks up here that do right hand sweeping turns, so I just never did it. And then I remember I did it a couple times. So I was like, oh god, and it was like I touched my knee all over again, like brand new. Since then, like all these new racetracks and stuff, I've done a lot more of that, but it was definitely a challenge at first. Yeah, the right hand side was just like I'm not as comfortable on the right hand side, which a lot of people aren't, right? Um, Moto t-shirts are awesome. Thanks. I think so too. What was the hardest track to learn and get comfortable with this year? Um, Hardest track to learn. Yeah, I mean, like there's a couple. Atlanta was very hard. I never really got comfortable there, and when I got tired, and that was the first round of the season, and when I got tired, it was so hard to get through the S's because I couldn't use my arms. Like my arms were, I'm supposed to be using the legs, and I was like, I'm trying to use the legs, and it was just, yeah, it was a challenge. And I really didn't like Brainerd. Like I didn't something about the track surface, like, I have never almost high-sided so many times in my life. Like, I normally have a really good, like, ability to control a rear tire slide, and that track did not let me do that. Like, you had grip, and then you didn't have grip, and it was just, like, so quick. Not a fan. Not a fan. So, but yeah, Atlanta will be another hard track for next year. We qualified there in the wet, right? So, I think one of the things I think Moto America should really, like, consider is, like, changing it's so hard because um Like, they it's hard because like, if it's gonna be a dry race or a wet race, like, they can't really predict that, and you also can't separate out the qualifying times to say, like, "Well, if you qualify in the wet, then you can ride, and if you qualify in the dry, you can't," like, meh. It just adds another level of complexity. However, I feel like it's kind of necessary because someone that rides really fast in the dry could be really shit in the rain, and then you still have that person riding around in the rain because they already qualified. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm ripping this question from the Pipe Dreams podcast, but you're on death row. What did they get you for? What's your last meal? Drink included. Oh, interesting. I think I remember hearing that when they like asked Kayla. She's like, can't remember what she said. She said like burn a house down or something. Um, so well, I don't know. What did they get me for? I wouldn't be on death row though if I just like stole a car. Right? Like, I don't know. I'm not a rule breaker, like, at all. Um, But I feel like my last meal would totally be like pesto tortellini or something like Italian food related because I love carbs and Italian food's my favorite. And all pastas, like literally. Like I'm lucky, thank you mother and grandmother for good genetics because I otherwise would be a giant because I eat so many carbs all the time. Um let's get petty for a second. Is there anyone in either class you want to beat or enjoy beating? Oof. We All right, well, Zaragoza is like my worst nemesis right now, considering he took me out in the first race round. So I enjoy beating Zaragoza because it also frustrates him. There are some other people I also enjoy beating, but I will not name names because this is gonna stay on my YouTube, and I don't want to do that. What made you decide on the ZX6 as a chassis? What's up, Nick? Um, Well, I had gone down to Chuckwalla for the first time, and the second round in, my I had an '06 R6 that I brought down there, and the second round I was there, it broke a valve spring, and we had to get an engine built. So anyway, fast forward, we built the engine. I crashed it at Button Willow, got a hole in the radiator, tried to fix it, didn't fix it, blew the engine up, whole thing, right? And I finally said, well, I want something new, but in between my engine being broken and getting rebuilt, I rode Daniel Reiser's brand new ZX, like Graves built ZX6. And then I realized I was like, well, like the ZX6 is like actually pretty cheap to buy, like new, like off the showroom, and it would get me a bike that was competitive and MotoAmerica legal. Because I was gonna like my original plan was like maybe to race my '06 R6 at MotoAmerica, like for that one round I was gonna do at the Ridge. And then I realized how, like, terrible of an idea that was because I was like, "I'm gonna be riding this, like, ancient bike at MotoAmerica." So then I kind of invested into that new bike, and it was cheaper, and then at the same time, the R6s were getting, at the same time, the R6s were getting, discontinued or whatever. So it was like, well, the R6s wasn't really a good option. So really, your was like Gixxer or ZX, and I was like, I don't really like Gixxers, so couldn't really tell you the basis of that answer. Like, I just didn't like that was just at the time. I just like I don't want to be a Gixxer girl. I'm gonna be a ZX6 girl. I don't know. So that's kind of where we ended up. It was cheap to buy, cheap to build. So that's kind of where we ended up. How long have you been riding street? And then when you went to the track, what was your first bike? Okay, so my first bike was an '07 R6S. That had like a ton of miles on it. It had been dropped a couple times, but it was amazing. I bought it for like $3,500. And then I rode on the street for about 6 months before I went to my first track day. I had friends that were to track days from my college, and they were like, "You should come out to a track day." So I came out and visited and whatnot, and bought all the gear and went to my first track day, and took my dad's truck and trailer, which is like a big closed enclosed car trailer, and took my one bike, went to a track day, and I loved it. I met these people that were like, "You should come to Thunderhill with us," which really they just wanted to use my trailer because it was big enough for everybody's bikes. But I ended up meeting a lot of really cool people. We went down to Thunderhill and did a 3-day event down there. We did 2 days at East and one at West or something like that. And this was in 2016. So then when we were down there, everybody was like, everybody should get race bikes. Let's all make a race team. So next thing you know, when next summer came in 2017, we'd all bought race bikes and we called ourselves Hobbit Racing, and we made a race team of a bunch of novices that knew nothing about what they were doing. And I bought a '03 R6. So it was $1,500. And yeah, that was my first race bike, and I loved it. I hated it, but I loved it. And then raced that for a little bit, and then bought my '06 R6, and then raced that for 3 or 4 years before it broke. Which is amazing that it even lasted that long before it broke because I did not do any engine maintenance. I didn't touch anything, right? I didn't touch the springs. I didn't touch any, like I knew nothing about the motorcycle. I just rode it. I changed the tires from time to time, and that was about it. So yeah, so I've been racing since 2017. And then I did Moto America for the first time last year in 2022. So pretty short racing timeline for me, for sure. Let's see. The tea is hot. Hopefully we get more Dobbs drama lore in the future. You can get Dobbs drama lore at any point, just not publicly published on the interwebs for anyone to see at any point. Made me a couple ciders and we could sit by the track and like chat about it at any point. Open book. The '06 R6 has almost the same frame as the 17, but yes, it's ancient. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a good bike. I put a Translogic auto blipper and quick shifter on it. So I had blipper on it, which worked most of the time, but people said that it blew them up a lot because the gear position sensor is like in the dash or whatever. And so like it has to run all the way to the dash and back. And sometimes it makes the transmission like so yeah. We got some R6s for sale. Yeah, I don't need to buy any more motorcycles. So, no thank you. I already have a problem. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with all these EX6s. You showed up in like a 60-foot trailer with one goddamn bike in it. You're goddamn right. It was hilarious. Yeah, it was a 20-foot enclosed car trailer with my dad's 3500 Dodge. And yeah, my one motorcycle and my suit hanging up on the wall. Oh, so good. Everybody was like, "Who is this person showing up?" And I was like, "Hi." Hilarious. 3 years of racing with just tire changes. Damn, that bike is a beast. Dude, that bike was a beast. And actually, that bike still lives. It's Wreck-It Ralph, and Motosteen has it. They bought it, and it's a show bike now. So they have it. They cleaned it all up, and Eric did a really good job, like putting carbon fiber on it, and it looks so good. Um, Do you think doing track days as early as you did helped you learn faster and or safer? Do you feel that maybe you avoided some bad habits from street riding? For sure. Um, I think it was nice because I was like I wanted to go like learn, and I was kind of like a sponge at that point, right? Where I was like I don't really know a ton of stuff, but I could learn, and so I didn't really have a lot of time to develop bad habits, right? Whether like the moto safety course told me like you're never supposed to brake in a turn, and then I get to the too fast day, and Mark DeGrasse is telling me like, oh yeah, trail braking, and I'm like, what? Okay, sure, I'll try it. And I had a lot of good people like to help me out along the way, but I think like for me, like doesn't apply to everyone, right? But like for me, it was like I really wanted to learn this thing and get good at it because that's just how I approach everything in my life. And so like I don't really half-ass anything. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna start doing this and I want to get better. So that being said, when I did club racing for about 3 or 4 years, I did it just as, like, for fun with my club racing friends, right? Like, I hung out, I didn't do any coaching, I didn't do any like, I don't know, I just rode. Like, the only time I ever really rode was at track days, and even then I just circulated, and then for races and stuff, I just started to go as fast as I could. Like, you just go faster, right? Like, you just go faster by going faster. You just gotta go faster all the time, and, like, it's just, like, I wasn't really learning anything, and so I did that for a long time where it was, like, I just was doing it for the sake of doing it? So I didn't really improve a lot for a couple of those club racing years, but I definitely think the track days and everything helped, right off the bat, even though I started, like, way later in my life. Because I had never ridden motorcycles before that at all. I was terrified. Like, I was like, "Why would you ride a motorcycle on the street with all those cars? Like, that sounds awful." Isn't the nickname Big Dick Dobbs, or am I misremembering from Track Days podcast? Yeah, Gavin calls me Big Dick, so that is my name, but no one else really calls me that. Better than showing up in a horse trailer. I've actually thought about like if I was still showing horses and doing motorcycle stuff, I'd buy a horse trailer and convert it, like have it so you could do both, like have little rings or have like the pit bull thing like in the floor, like under the mat, so you could like pull it up and then just like put bikes in there, and then you could put like and then put a horse in there. But I never got that far. Are the ribbons on your wall from horse riding? Yes. So these these ribbons, this one here, and then the other big ones back here, those two are from the World Championship show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I went in 2013 with my horse that I had trained, and I went there to show and got like a bunch of buckles and whatnot. That number on the wall right here is my exhibitor number. But yeah, that was my goal, that's my dream, is to go to the world show with my horse that I had trained. And so I came back with some championship titles. So those ribbons are like similar to like racing motorcycles where you spend a ton of money and you get a little plastic trophy. You spend a ton of money and you get a ribbon and a belt buckle that you could have bought for $200. So it's very, very similar. So, yeah, these pictures up here are actually of my first horse, Bubba. He was pretty cool. I had him for a couple years, and then I guess oh, that poster's like blocking it. But then I have another like picture frame here that has a bunch of pictures of my horse, Wiley, who I still have. He is now 17. Um, BDE forever. How about some BDD merch? We could work on that for sure. We could definitely work on that. No one will know. That'll be the best part, right? Racing cheaper than riding. Depends. Club racing is probably just as expensive as well, it's probably a little bit more expensive than riding horses or showing horses. But the MotoAmerica stuff is way more expensive than showing horses. But like, I guess it's like the equivalent of like the World Show, like times like the World Show every time you go to an event. So yeah, I mean, there's different levels, right? But like club racing to club horse showing is probably pretty similar. Club racing is probably a little bit more expensive by the time that you add all like the tires and stuff, like depending on how many tires you're buying and whatnot. I have a friend that hauls his time attack S 2000 around in a horse trailer. It was never a horse trailer, but looks exactly like them. I mean, it works, right? BDD merch and get a top three so we can yell that at the podium. Yes. I think the only way I'm getting a podium is if I do Super Hooligans the next year. So, but maybe we'll see. We'll see. What is the most difficult part of racing for you right now? Um, like not just the racing part or like my racing part, like the physical, like my racing abilities, or just everything. Never say never. Yeah. Okay, I'll never say never. Overall. Okay. The managing like relationships, the people relationships. So like uh the logistics and the management of the team and everything like that is very challenging to do while also doing everything else. So, like I'm managing like, oh, I gotta do the parts orders for this, and I gotta pay this invoice, and I gotta book lodging for this, and I gotta book the flight for so and so, and then you get these relationships where like, oh, I need to have a conversation with so and so about like um about transport, and then like, oh, I need to have such and such conversation about not transporting because I have a different transport, or and so like you just have to like be like completely transparent and like just tell everybody everything, but at the same time like you're like trying not to ruin any relationships because you're like, well, at some point I might need their help, And so that is always like a little bit of a challenge because it's like you're like kind of interviewing people to like help you out or like get hired on your team. And like that doesn't always work out the best way. So, and a lot of people are different and a lot of racers are weird. And so, like, you just have a lot of different personalities coming together to try to make the team work. And I could not emphasize enough that like having the right team in your pits and around is so critical in the way that you perform and the way that your whole team works and the vibe of the weekend, right? I can perfectly attest that like that makes a world of difference. So, um, and there's a shortage of the good people that are worth being around. So, never enough money is the most difficult part. 100%. Yeah. The like money stress is a challenge. Um, but it's really insightful. I thought I'd be balancing work/finances. Yeah, I mean, like it is a challenge. Like all of it's a challenge, right? Like the managing the money and the staying focused at work, right? Like when you do cool stuff like motorcycles, then you go back to your day job. Like it's really difficult. Favorite part of the day job? I don't know. Like favorite part would be seeing like communities and people's lives change because of things that we've built. Like just seeing the difference in my community by what we've put together. And my coworkers, they're pretty sweet. I do enjoy the people I work with. Um, sorry. Let's see. Dream bike, blank check. What are you buying? Uh, I I think I actually own my dream bike, but the R1s have always been my favorite bike. They have a very special place in my heart. So I have a 2023 Street Bike R1 that I used for coaching this year. Um, that I probably will likely sell to buy more things for next season's MotoAmerica, but we'll see. I mean, it's still one of the best fan experiences out there. Pit access, rider personalities, rider grit, etc. Yeah, I would say that MotoAmerica really needs to you know, play into that, right? Where they allow that to happen, but they also need to make sure that the hard part is that how do you manage a personality of a racer that's already racing? But some of these people are not very good people for Moto America or for the sport. They're just not very approachable. They're not fun to be around. They're not good entertainment for people. I don't know. There's just some people are in it for different reasons, and that's fine. But uh, doesn't make for very good publicity if you have someone that's just grouchy and doesn't want to talk to anybody. So, oh yeah, for sure it's F1. Yeah. But everybody loves F1, right? F1's so much bigger than Moto America. Everybody loves cars. I don't understand why everybody's so much more adamant about cars. Mm, I don't like F1. Oh my gosh, I got in a binge watching situation where I was watching a lot of F1, literally binge watching. And every single episode was just someone crying about something and then someone taking their teammate out. Regardless of what team it was just always oh yeah, that so and so took out so and so. And then it was just it is over and over again, just oh my god, and then just crying about it. And then I don't know. Cars is something everybody can relate to in terms of scale and feeling. Bikes, not so much. I would agree. I think that the cars thing is well, I drive a car, so I could drive an F1, and if no one, not everybody rides motorcycles, and a lot of people hate motorcycles. Um, besides unintentionally getting asked to leave Park for May, seeing the bikes up close is one of the coolest parts of the MA weekend for me, besides the riders in person. But I'm a mega engineering nerd. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the cool part, right? Is people can see a lot of this stuff up close and personal. What is your dream track, and who would you take with you, and why? What's up, Gavin? Uh, Dream track? I have no idea. I feel like I really want to ride Saxon Ring. That was so when I was planning my wedding, didn't happen. We were planning on going to one of the Leo Escapes tours for our honeymoon, and we were going to go ride the Italian Alps on adventure bikes and Saxon Ring with S1000s on track. And that sounded like a really cool experience. So I still feel like I want to do that at some point. Maybe still for my honeymoon. I don't know. But so I don't know. Gavin, you want to go to Saxon Ring? We'll go to Saxon Ring. You have to pay. Too much drama, not enough action. Agreed, Tim. They always focus on the negatives. Look at these crashes and look at this guy freaking out and look at this thing. And it's never just because the racing itself, I feel isn't enough entertainment. I don't know. Oh yeah, you're talking about F1. We were talking about F1 too. Yeah. The odds I get to see a GP or World Superbike up close are slim. Yeah, I mean, I watched MotoGP at Coda, but I didn't get to see anything, right? And then we cheered for SDK and Cam, but that was about it. It was we got to see the stands and they ate a bunch of food, but you don't get to see the same thing unless you pay thousands of dollars. So I enjoy the building and engineering more than the riding. I mean, it's cool to build them, but after I built my one motorcycle and then I had someone else build me a motorcycle, I was I'm never building another motorcycle again. If I can help it, I'm buying a motorcycle done or having someone else build it because it's too much work. Post pics of people riding. I'm looking at the engineering and build of the bike rather than the rider. Of course, right? You want to see what's on it and what it looks like. Did I need an Evoltech triple? No. Did I drool over it in the garage? Absolutely. For sure. Will you foot the tire bill if I get us there? Sure. A tire bill can't be that expensive to go around for a couple days. Are you coming to race any Legion Superbike rounds next season? New club racing series with CMA level payouts, Midwest series. Hmm. I don't know. Maybe. When is that? That's like during the summer, right? Like during MotoAmerica weekends or MotoAmerica months? Have you rode an e-bike? I have not. That sounds fun though. Uh, just go do it. Forget the honeymoon. For sure. For sure should do that. During the summer, sprints on Saturday, 2 and 4 hour endurance race on Sunday, like N2. Ooh, that's fancy. I like that. You said Midwest though? Mm, I don't know. That sounds fun. I think that would be cool. I don't know. The problem is that I want to do all the racing, but I don't have the money to do all of the racing. So I gotta pick and choose. Let's see. Do you have any experience on any other tire brands? And if you had the choice, would you still ride Dunlop? I would love to try other tires just because like people ask me like what it's like to ride other tires, so I could like give them feedback. But I haven't ridden anything else other than Dunlops in the past 3 years or 2.5 years. So I rode Pirellis before that, but I wasn't really that fast back then. And then uh since then I've only raced on Dunlops. But I think a lot of the things with tires is that like people will ride on tires if they get good deals on them. And like tire brands aren't really giving good deals. So you kind of just stick with what you know. So I'm sponsored by Dunlop. But I mean, like, if someone came to me with a better offer, like, I would for sure try a different tire just to see. I think I did ride on Bridgestones once on a borrowed bike last year, the year before. But it was a borrowed bike, so like everything was different, you know? So, riding the rule book for it. It'll have a hooligans class and good bouncing for next gen for club level. Nice. Okay. Ride my R6 free of charge. Just share the payout when you win. Okay. What kind of payout are we talking? That sounds like fun. I do have to send my Super Hooligans bike back to Canada because of some importing stuff. So we'll see if it comes back down for any club stuff next year. I don't really know what the plan is for that. Still undetermined on what happens with the hyper. How much endurance racing did you have? I have done a couple, like 4 or 6 hour endurance races with Wimra. We typically do like a 4 or 5 person team on those. We used to do them a lot, and then this year they actually canceled the one that they had scheduled because no one signed up, which was a bummer. And then one we did prior to that was when I blew up a bike. So I've done a couple of them, but we don't do them like the participation in endurance racing in the West in like Washington, Oregon is not the same as it is at, like, the East Coast, right? Like, I see all those N2 endurance races and stuff, and they've got, like, a crazy amount of participation, um, and we just don't have that here. So, team finger guns, finger guns. It was a good e-race team for sure. Enjoy your off season. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I really hope that we can put something together for the full season. Also, is it hard to manage the different compounds over a race weekend, or do you have to deal with it as much being a privateer? Me doing casual track, so I just use the same compound to replace when they're worn, but different compounds seem like it adds another dimension to deal with. Yeah, I mean, like we're constantly managing different tire compounds throughout a weekend, right? So like at Chokwala, I'm asking Dale like what the weather is like, and oh, if it's too hot, like do I need to run something different, or can I run this still, or like how many laps will it last? All that stuff. And I'm like, my tire bill at Chuckwalla when I'm doing all of the races and wanting to do well in all of them is like a $2,000 tire bill still, right? It's a MotoAmerica tire bill because I'm using a new front each day and then I'm using a new rear tire for every race because they just don't last down there. Like 6 laps on a soft tire at Chuck is just like it's done for. Um, and you can't really redo that for the next like race if you're trying to do like 47s or 48s, like it's just not possible. So you kind of get pigeonholed into just like getting a bunch of new tires all the time. Unless you want to just like go around in the middle of the pack and have terrible grip. So I have to double check payouts. I'm pretty sure it's 1500, 715, 500. Wow, that's pretty good. I'll have to check out that schedule for sure and see what it looks like with the MotoAmerica stuff since they already posted it. You know who was supposed to be here that said he was going to be here? Dorn. EDR. He said he was going to have questions. He was prepared. I was nervous. But here we are. Yeah, so I've been yakking at you guys for like an hour and a half already. So, I mean, like, I'm down to end this whenever you guys are, but you guys still were firing off questions. So, he gets scared. I doubt it. He probably just forgot. Who's your favorite rider in the MotoAmerica paddock? Oof. I don't know if I can pick one favorite, but I don't know. I think actually I will say I'll say Max Flinders because he said that I was his favorite, even though I think he just says that to everybody. But he's super cool dude. Are there any secrets you learned racing super sports this year that you can share with club racers? Any secrets? I don't know that I have all the secrets for you, Ben, of how to work your way through the pack, you know? I'm trying to think. Qualifying is really important. Because I mean, then it just means that you don't have to deal with as many people, right? Regardless of if you're like, they're faster or slower than you at one point. Like if you out qualify them, then you don't have to deal with them, and you just need to get good starts, right? People underestimate like how important like qualifying and stuff is, you know. So stoked Max podium the bagger. I know, so awesome. I've been meaning to rewatch that race because like I had to travel to the airport pretty early, so we were like on our way to the airport, and I didn't actually get to watch it. So I've been meaning to rewatch it because I'm bummed I like missed that experience of like being there for it personally because I know that like the paddock was probably like stoked. Like everybody loves Max. Are you at the level where you have to hunt for sponsors? They reach out to you. You will always be at a level that you have to hunt for sponsors, regardless of how good you are. You still have to hunt for sponsors. But yeah, I still like. There are certain people that like have approached. There are some people that have approached me about sponsorship, but there's still a large amount of effort that goes into reaching out to people. So I would say starts are second to qualifying for sure, John. I would agree. Qualifying is the most important thing. JP and Greg's commentary was awesome. They were so excited as well. I love that. I love that they were getting stoked. Like you can tell when they get all emotional about something and like get excited, and you're like, oh, cute. They're funny. I met Greg's brother. He's literally like he looks so different but so similar to Greg and like his mannerisms and stuff. Like they're very similar people. Really struggle with his diet on race weekends. Finding time to eat on time and healthy. How do you manage that? I don't. Last question. No, you can ask as many questions as you want. I'm here for it. Uh yeah. I don't. Basically, you got to figure out. So I really did try to manage this a little bit this year. So a lot of it for me was like still maintaining the same process or the same routine that I have at home. So like I don't eat breakfast in the morning. So like I drink coffee in the morning, and for a little bit there I was doing like Red Bulls in the morning. And so like at race weekends, which was not like it just isn't the same as like coffee. So it's like, okay, stick to coffee and then like uh always good to have people who have extra food. Yes. Yeah, you just have to know the right people and then you'll get fed and then you'll be fine. Um so I get really nervous and I was the same way when I showed horses too, but uh y- I get really nervous and I get really stressed out and then I just don't eat. So like one of the things I focus on is like eating early enough in the day. Like it's with Moto America, it's like a little easier, but like with club racing, it's probably a little harder. But I try to eat way before I'm racing because like that way, like um it doesn't like upset my stomach right beforehand or I feel like nervous and then like nauseous. So, but you just gotta find things that are like easy to grab and eat, like your Uncrustables or whatever, right? Something like, but maybe something more healthy, some like protein stuff. Like I do like, um, Cliff bars, RX bars, stuff like that. But I try to eat a lot of, like, I'll try to eat really good at night at least, even if I don't eat throughout the day. Um, Uncrustables have protein. Okay. Um, Jeff White is awesome. It's funny. I think he was doing some practice with Chuck. Oh yeah, he for sure was. Find the moms of the paddock, befriend them, and eat all their food. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of moms besides, yeah, Danielle is probably the only mom that has a lot of snacks. Need to hydrate all the time, just not on race days or weekends. Um, yeah, I mean the like uh really hydrating has helped me a ton too because it's really helped with like the cramping throughout the weekend. So like drinking, a ton of Pedialytes and just waters and everything else. But yeah, it like so Sarah was really good about managing like rider stuff too as well. So John feeds the Northeast Cycle Outlet crew and Sarah was really good also about like managing and making sure that we all had food. Cause like part of it's like I just don't have enough mental capacity to like make a decision about food and to go get the food and whatever. So she was always kind of like, oh, here you go. And so I tried to pick something like light that wasn't too heavy, like no like really big carbs and things. Randy was sick night. Yeah, Randy does amazing food. So if you get a transport company, typically what it is like the transport company comes with the food. They make food. So Randy has some really good meat too. Um, was there any real surprises that happened in MA that you didn't account for or plan for? Not really. Besides getting taken out, I didn't really expect or like plan for that. I guess, which was a bummer. Does the pre-race anxiety ever go away? So I get nervous like my first track day until you roll it on track. Yeah. I don't think so. When I showed horses from the age of 11 to 24, and every time I went to the first class of the day, I was always nervous. And I think it's the same for me with racing. Like the first race of the weekend or the day is always like the most stressful because I feel like it like sets the mood for the whole weekend. But I don't think it ever really goes away. You just got to learn how to like manage it and channel it into something that's productive. 2-ounce Uncrustables peanut butter and grape jelly sandwich provides 6 grams of protein per serving. Okay. All right. Touche. Well, just eat a couple of those and you should be good to go for the whole weekend. Um, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, like whatever works, whatever's like easiest to grab, right? Like I don't know that there's a science to it. Like I think that uh you just got to figure out what you're like willing and able to like eat and are capable of eating when you're like busy and whatnot. I also did those little like GU like energy packets that have like they have like like or they have like they have carbohydrates and like a bunch of other stuff. And so I did some of the like energy packet gel things. Those were also helpful, but they wreck my stomach. Like they do not agree with my stomach. So I don't know. You just got to find out what works. You just got to try a bunch of stuff. You have a gaming headset on. Do you play video games? In a previous lifetime, I was a Twitch streamer. Fun fact. But yes, I do from time to time play video games. Uh, I haven't streamed in like over a year, but my friends and I play like a bunch of just like random games a lot. And we used to play like we played Fall Guys for a bit where we would just like have a group of us and play Fall Guys and just get drunk and play that. Um, I've been kind of meaning to get back into the streaming game, honestly, just because like I already have all this stuff and I still enjoy talking to people and play video games. But yeah, I was an escape from Tarkov streamer. I got to like 40 average views and quit to race. Yeah, it takes up so much time, right? Like it's so many things. And I like already sit at my desk all day every day for work. So like But I guess I could just like sit at my desk and make money doing that maybe like instead. I don't know. I've also thought about so like Twitch streaming, like now you can do it on like your phone and things. And I was like kind of thinking that you could do some like Twitch streaming like behind the scenes, like at the racetrack, Like I don't know. Just some like brain dump ideas. There you go. There's my there's like videos on here from like 8 years ago when I used to play CSGO. Yeah. So back in a previous lifetime. So yeah, I have a gaming headset. I have a sweet gaming keyboard. I was not very good in CS:GO, to be honest. That video of me, like, I opt like 3 people in one game, and then, that was about the highlight of my career. Set up a Twitch stream with the pits and the crew working. Yeah. I mean, we could do yeah, like, do like a re well, we'd hope that that wouldn't really happen, but but yeah, you could have like a live Twitch stream open of just like, "Oh, hey, we're hanging out at MotoAmerica pits. You can hang out with us." Um How many people do you think would be ideal to have on your team to help during a race weekend? Um, I mean, like 2 to 3 people is really all you need. Like you have a person that can run tires and wheels, and then you have, or like pull tires and wheels and run them to the tire guy. You have the crew chief that does the data, like data acquisition and like, the rider, whatever. And then you could have like one person that does like also helps with like other tire warmers and stuff. If you like more than like 3 people, it's just like too many on one bike. The Malinator. I know. Isn't that great? I also have a sweatshirt back in high school from like one of my like sports teams with the Dab Stopper on it. What's my LOL rank? Oh, I don't know. I think I got up to like I haven't played LOL in like decades. No. Uh a long time. I was gold at one point, I think, for a bit, but I had a boyfriend who was really into it and he was like platinum and like he would just carry me. I just support and just but I hated it. Like I hate supporting even though it was the only thing I was good at. You want to play the new Forza game October 10th? Yeah, duh. I thought it like pre-sold on October 5th or whatever. What tracks are on that? Did they like publish like what tracks are on it? Oh my god, that's so bright. Eh. Finally a race I'll be able to beat you at. Wow. Shots fired. What was I looking at? Forza Motor Sport tracks. Let's see what this says. CS:GO makes me channel the souls of my ancestors to sweat like no other game. I actually kind of miss like these are the things like I'm totally cool with like hanging out and playing video games and just like making a fool of myself. That was very bright on this side. Sorry, my second monitor is just like killing my eyeballs. Let's see. Circuit to Barcelona, Circuit to Spa, Eagle Rock, Grand Oak, Hackney, Homestead, Indianapolis, Kyalami, Lamar, Lime Rock, Maple Valley, Mid Ohio. So we can train for some Mid Ohio. CS2 is out now. CS2? Mugello, Nürburgring, Road America, Silverstone, Suzuka, Virginia, Watkins, Laguna. Well, it still doesn't have as many racetracks as Forza 7. So it has, as far as MotoAmerica goes, it has Mid Ohio, VIR, Laguna. How much of the data do you go over with Chris? Basic stuff or fairly detailed? Like, how much do you want to know? Yeah. So this year, Don helped me with my super sports stuff and went over data with me. Don Beck with Superbike Underground. It depends. Like, basically, it was like, hey, like, you need to go faster at these racetracks anyway. So, like, data wasn't super helpful for me. Like, it was helpful for him to, like, understand, like, gearing and, like, maybe some traction control mapping and stuff like that. Like, I think he changed some things that, like, he didn't even tell me about. So we didn't really go into too much detail. He would look at data that he had before and, like, compare, he would, like, compare my data with someone else's and then say like, hey, here's a big problem area where you're losing a ton of time, so focus on this one corner. So we would look at the data and say like, oh, okay, well you can use this and like go faster here, or whatever, or you're messing up some of your entry here. It's you're like slow points late. But that's about the extent of what we would go into because we just didn't really have the time or the energy like to go through all of it, you know. I think I heard that you started out riding on the track. Did you get into street riding like shortly after? I actually, yeah. So I rode on the street for about 6 months before I got into track riding. I met a couple people that, like my one of my college friends, did track days, and so he recommended I come out and like visit whatever, and I met a bunch of people. So yeah, I rode on the street for about 6 months before I went to my first track day. I like five people: tire runner, crew chief, cook, two mechanics. Yeah, that makes sense. I just can't afford to pay for 5 people to be there. But yeah, the cook is definitely important. Read about the first update they will. Oh, they're gonna put more tracks. Is that what you're saying, Gavin? Nutrition specialist. Love that. Love that title. Sounds so official. Twitch stream would get shut off so quick. Hey, I streamed for years without it getting shut off. So, and have you seen some of those Twitch streams that are on there these days? Like, it's pretty bad. It's like not appropriate. Um, bye, Nick. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking questions and participating. So I didn't just have to stay here on my own. I've been too scared to buy CS2. I already have a problem procrastinating with my schoolwork. Gonna binge the snot out of this in winter break. CS2 is a free update for CSGO. It replaces the game in your library. Oh, interesting. Well, that's fun. I guess I have a new game I could play and or stream. Having Chris and Don on your paddock, do you want to know the changes to your bike or do you just want to focus on riding? Sometimes I like the changes. It depends on what it is. Like if it's a gearing change, I kind of like to know so that way I can like anticipate like where it might be different and like think about it. But if it's like some changes, it's like not really that big of a deal. If I'm complaining about a problem, I want to know if we change something. How about that? That's that answer. Back to never enough money. It all circles back to but still not having enough money. I should not have been told that. Oh no, Nate. I apologize for your schoolwork productivity. I do not take liability for anything that happened. Oh. Received a new friend invitation on Steam. All right, which one of y'all is creeping? Microsoft Office 2013 is awaiting your response. Nice. Love that. It's funny. Nate, I'll take all the liability, play all the games so all the friends enjoy. Reach out to Vet to Track to see if they can help us support the team with a vet next year. They've helped a few teams this year, depending on how many vets sign up. Oh yeah, that's how I think John Cord, one of my buddies from up here, does that. That's how he like worked with Jeff May, I think like 2 years ago. I forgot about that. Mad Racer. Sorry if anyone asked this already. Just popped in here. What's your favorite MotoAmerica track after the Ridge? Pittsburgh. For sure, Pittsburgh. It was a lot of fun, and it was like, I mean, it's hard to go fast on, and it's like a challenging track, but it was a lot of fun. Do you use a track map a bunch taking notes, or do you keep mental notes? No, I would not remember a bunch of stuff. I took notes throughout the weekend on different track maps, and then like and with any coaches I worked with, and then at the end of the weekend, I wrote down like tire compounds we used for each session, gearing. So that way I can kind of go back to it for next year, although that's only really applicable if I still race the ZX6 next year, but it was a good thought. So I tried to like mark down as many things as I could on like the track. So that way next year I'm not starting over. And then Don has all of my data from this year. So we'll have all of that for next year as well. Home and you're still up. And I heard CS2. I play it every night. Hit me up if you decide to play. Oh, more things to do. I don't know. I could get back into streaming. I totally could. Like I said, I just don't. It's just so much time that I could be doing sponsorship acquisition. Maybe that's a new ploy. We get sponsors and then we put them on a Twitch channel and then we use that as another way to get more people to see their stuff. What was my worst crash for this MotoAmerica season? I actually honestly had like all of my crashes this MotoAmerica season were very minor. The rain one that I did at New Jersey like hurt my elbow pretty good because I kind of like high sided myself off a little bit. But uh, yeah, most of my crashes this year were like very minor, which was good. Left me with 2 motorcycles, so we're still rideable at the end of the season. Although I will say the one at Pittsburgh uh, was kind of like gnarly because it was like right as soon as I hit the grass, it was just like whoop, and then I was tumbling pretty good for a while. John, probably the time someone ran over your head. Oh, yeah. Gavin ran over my head in flat track once, gave me a concussion. I high sided myself and then he hit me. Trying, but all my friends have expensive hobbies like motorcycles, so I'm trying to make big bucks. Yeah, it's never enough. Never enough. Do I listen to any music to get in race mood? From time to time, but not really. Some days are better than others. Like some days I do, like there are some days where I'm like, oh, I just need to like shut the world out and listen to some like Five Finger Death Punch. But typically no. No regrets. No regrets. Yeah. Thanks for that. I'm just realizing how much like random stuff I have like on my like thing back here. I ran out of space for the Chuckwalla trophies on my shelves, so now they're just like splurging into everywhere else. I need to reorganize them a little bit. Yeah. Oh, here's a good picture. Here we can share some past Mallory lifetime stuff. Here you go. Eh. This is my 2013 World Championship picture with Wiley, and then my horse trainer and my best friend Danielle. Pretty great. Eh. What was your favorite memory of this year, racing or personal? Racing wise, it was like seeing my sponsor like over the wall, like cheering for me in sixth place at Laguna. She was like, "Oh my gosh!" She was like over the wall, like it was so great. And like that moment was just like, I just gotta do good to make her proud. It was super cool. Stop procrastinating mechanics and materials, but thanks for the stream. It's been super great. Can't wait for the next one. Oh yeah, from Jersey. Says hi. Thanks for chatting in person. Nice talking with everyone in chat. Little Squiddy. Yeah, say hi to Faith for me. I'm so glad that I got to meet you guys. It was awesome. I'm sorry that I wasn't under better circumstances or me in a better mood than what it was, but appreciate you hanging out and being here. Keeping the 6R might be the best way to honest year since you have 3 bikes, data from this year, and just to build some consistency. Agreed, Brian. That's kind of like part of my thing is like, well, it saves me money and it's something that like I could build off of from this year since we already did it last year. Or this year, I guess. So it would make a lot less things. It'll be better next year, or we'll just be coming to more rounds. For sure, it's going to be better the next year. Like I know it will be. It's going to be better. Can only go up from there. What else? Does anybody have any other burning questions? Before I get off and do clean my house. because I've been a slacker. Actually, I have to do work, like real work. I was at a conference this week for 2 days. So, what is the first upgrade you tell a newbie rider to get on their bikes besides coaching? Like a stock street bike, rear sets and clip-ons, and suspension, probably. Yeah, I'd say clip-ons, rear sets, suspension. That would be my recommendation. Best way. It's only 8 o'clock. A sweet exhaust. For sure, a sweet exhaust. Sweet Tosh exhaust. What safety stuff would you recommend? I don't know. I mean, like, I still have a hard time with the um airbag vests. Like, I still don't think that they're quite there where we need to be. But uh yeah, I mean, like, a one-piece suit is probably good. Don't ride on the street, do track days. For sure. It's one thing people would be surprised to hear about me. I think we already talked about it, right? I was uh I was a Twitch streamer. You're welcome, Mad Racer. Thank you for being here, coming to hang out, asking questions. Happy to help. We might do some more of these in the future. I don't know yet, but this one felt like a good opportunity since it was like the end of the season. Gave me an opportunity to talk about stuff. So, yeah, I think the horse showing is always weird for people, and then they liked my gaming personality, I guess. Tosha's so loud. They're awful. They have no performance gain, sound terrible, look terrible. Ugh. I've only ridden street, never been on a track other than the car to ride at Laguna on my Grom. Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot you did that. JP was talking about it. He was like, "Oh my God, Tim's riding his Grom. He's having a blast." You gotta change that, Tim. We gotta get you to track day. If you could follow any racer on track, past, present, or future, who would it be and why? Caroline Olsen, because she's my idol. Easy. Mm-mm, mm-mm. And she's gorgeous. Oh, for sure. Amongst all the baggers, and it wasn't much of a parade lap, people were sending it down the corkscrew. I love that. It was great to hear about the season. Thanks for doing this. You're welcome, Brian. Thanks for being here. I always appreciate your support. One question you would ask her. I would ask her. I think I would just ask her like what her piece of advice would be for me. She did reach out to me recently. Speaking of my idol, she did reach out to me recently and like said sorry about New Jersey and wrote me this really heartfelt message about how I belonged in the MotoAmerica paddock and how I was doing the thing. And oh, it was the nicest. Like it was, dream come true. To be motivated by your idol just feels too surreal. Yeah, Tim, I want her to come back and race, but now that she's had like a kid, I don't think she ever will, which is a bummer. Such a bummer. Yeah, you should totally get a bison suit made, Tim. They're not that expensive. And like I think like between Rainey and I, like one of us could get you a little bit of a discount. That get off she had a barber a few years ago was no joke. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard that some of her crashes have been like gnarly. Gnarly. Yeah, I'm really thankful that I didn't have any like major crashes this year. Good, Tim. Get on it. Want no excuses. Butter's got a bike and he's gonna be riding this summer. So got no excuse. Once a month updates. For sure. We can do that. Um yeah. I mean, obviously the off season's gonna be a little bit off season's gonna be a little bit more chill, but we can definitely do like a little once a month hangout. Maybe we play some video games. I might start on the gram. Okay. Well, I mean that's something. You gotta start somewhere. Yeah, John, if John's still here. I hung up one of AJ's posters on that wall that you guys can't see, but this one, I don't know what to do with yet. But John printed them out and I brought them all the way home and I put them up. So make sure to let him know that because I love them. They're great. And the other ones are all in my office. Glad to see and converse. Gotta go. Bye. Thanks for coming, John. Appreciate you. Bye, Brian. See you later. All right. If everybody's getting off, I'm also gonna leave. It was hope to see you soon at a Too Fast event. Oh, for sure. Yeah, hopefully I'll make more Too Fast events this summer. I'll have maybe more time. I don't know. Find out. All the Too Fast events kind of lined up with other stuff, and then I couldn't miss work, and all the midweek stuff was just hard. So, um, be strong. One that I'm riding at, not working. I know. Yeah, we'll figure something out for sure. Like the weekend ones work great, but then if the weekend falls on MotoAmerica, then it's hard. So it's a challenge. It's just a challenge. All right, Tim. Well, if you need any help with anything or have any questions, you can always let me know. Cool. Well, thank you guys all for being here. Even rides a cruiser. I appreciate y'all being here. Glad hopefully this helped some people ask some questions, and we might do this some more this off season, maybe next year as well. But yeah, it was great chatting with everybody, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.